was recording.
Okay, go ahead.
Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to the very first ever Cancer Sisters podcast.
What?
This is a story all about how our lives got flipped, turned upside down. Thank you, Will Smith and DJ Jazzy Jeff. And yeah, I'm sorry. I will not
We're
sing,
amateur rappers.
Not sing or sort of fake rap again. Cancer Sisters is kind of, it's kind of an icky title, but it's great for us. It sticks because we are sisters and we both have
sisters.
cancers.
Mm-hmm.
Cancer. Well,
Plural.
different cancers. So it's plural.
It's plural.
Anyhow, that's how we very cleverly came up with the name. We are identical. We are part of triplets, so we do not call ourselves twins because that leaves out Brother George, and we've never liked doing that. But the last about 3 years, 2.5.
21.
Yeah, summer of 21 have been, to use an overused metaphor, an absolute ridiculous roller coaster.
Shit show.
It has been, it's been an up and a down and a way high and a way low and dark and scary and crappy. So that's kind of how we started with the idea. We kept talking to each other and we kept laughing.
Yeah, there's a lot to laugh at because if you don't laugh at it, you'll cry about it. And nobody wants to do that.
Absolutely. And, I don't know. We kind of jokingly said we should do a podcast. And here we are. Sort of trying to podcast. So
I think it's also that people should hear what we've gone through from our perspective. But because it's so weird, because knowing what we know now, it could help other people. It's just sort of fantastical. So
we are by no means experts by degree, although we're smart ladies. We are smart people. By no means experts in this, and we can't give you any expert advice. We can only tell you about our experience, and that's what we hope to do. We've told our story to a few people, mostly medical professionals, and the genuine reaction is a whole lot of like, what the, fill in the blank.
Most people say, what the fuck?
Really. Quite frequently, really.
And honestly, that's what we said.
Yeah. This second go round.
Especially.
Yeah, or maybe the first go round too, but more about that in a minute. I'm going to tell you a little bit about myself. Amanda's going to tell you a little bit about herself. We didn't really introduce ourselves. I'm Nicole. That's Amanda.
I'm Amanda.
Hey. And we're going to tell you a little bit more about our story. I'll have Amanda start.
Excuse me. I'm going to get started. We can cut that out. Okay, so... gosh, where to begin? We are going to get started talking,
just the facts, man.
Just the facts. So Nick said, as you know, we're triplets. We have a very close-knit family. We have a very supportive family, and that's key in going through anything like this. We have grown up in Ohio, moved other places, moved back, and I feel very fortunate that I landed back here a few years ago because little did I know when I started going through this how much I would need my family. So thankful for that. We are in our 40s and live very healthy lives. Right, you can't tell at all. Nobody knows.
No wrinkles.
We grew up as competitive swimmers. I went on to swim in college. Then I went into bodybuilding for almost 10 years, and we both love the gym. We live and eat healthy, and I will say that I credit that to knowing what it means to feel good in my own body, and to know how healthy feels, because I will say I don't think the average American knows what it actually feels to feel healthy. But I credit that with knowing when something was wrong. And so as we get into my diagnosis, I'm going to give you some facts, but no, we are talking about rectal cancer, and it could get a little personal.
A little personal, a little gross. I mean, who in the history of forever ever wanted to talk so much about poop? Their
Nobody.
rectum?
Nobody does.
Nobody. Nobody really wants to. The things we've had to say.
There is a hashtag out there called ass cancer. Hashtag ass cancer.
Hashtag ass cancer sucks.
Yeah.
But it all sucks. Any kind of cancer. But
Yeah.
the point is, it gets personal, friends. It gets personal.
It does. So, here we go. So, I had started feeling a little weird in the spring of 2021 and just felt sort of like something was in my gut. I was having a lot of bathroom issues. I was having a lot of bleeding. I totally explained that away as, I probably have hemorrhoids. Something else you get to deal with in your 40s or sooner.
Not the good kind of roids.
But it kept getting worse. So I wasn't sure what I was feeling or honestly where it was coming from. And I can explain that a little bit later. So I went to see my gynecologist, who's just, shout out to Dr. Peterson. Amazing. She's so amazing.
Lovely human.
A lovely human. And she's like, well, I'm not sure what's going on here. We should check you for STIs, check on your IUD, which I'd had at the time.
Here we go with the
personal stuff with a low hormone IUD, and that kind of stuff. So she gave me sort of a broad spectrum antibiotic, and we talked about fiber and all the things you got to eat to help yourself from being constipated or having any problems like that. And a couple weeks later, I called her up and I was like, I don't feel better. I still feel this. I feel like a weird pressure, sort of somewhere in between my colon and my uterus. It's really strange. And when I went back to see her again, she was like kind of stumped. And she's like, well, this could very much have to do with your IUD. So we scheduled about a week later for me to get that removed. It had been there for 4 years. We can have a whole separate conversation about that. If you don't know it, go look it up if you do. If you need to know what it is. But
An intrauterine device.
Yes, thank you. And when we got to that appointment, the tumor had made itself known and pushed through from my rectum into the vaginal wall. And when your doctor says, whoa, this is bad.
The password is panic.
Exactly.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. It was. So within, less than 24 hours, she made a call to a friend of hers, and I went to see a gynecological oncologist the very next morning. And after about 15 minutes with him, he's like, hey, I don't think this is my department. Sent me down the road to, we walked over the bridge in the hospital.
A colorectal oncologist.
To the colorectal oncologist, who is now my surgeon of record, also a great doctor. And started this whole process. So within another few days, I was meeting my oncology team. I was getting told what my treatment plan would be. I met with radiation. I got mapped for radiation. And within 3 weeks...
Probably a PET scan.
Yeah, a PET scan after that.
A couple rectal exams on a
biopsy,
really awkward table.
Very awkward rectal exams. Let's just pause on that for a moment.
No, that's more for later. That's in a different episode. That's
it's pretty hilarious.
No, that's
okay,
in
fine.
a different episode. Yeah.
All right. So then I started treatment because Nicole wants me to hurry up. No, I'm kidding. For 3 months, 5 days a week, every week, taking chemo twice a day and radiation once a day. So I'd have the weekends off, and it was super intensive and super shitty, pun intended. So,
cue the butt jokes.
So that brings me to March 4th, 2002, when I got the news that I was completely cancer-free, which was an amazing day. It was a Friday. Nicole was actually at the place where we get her hair done, and I interrupted her appointment and
So we could cry
ran into
and
the
hug.
salon so we could cry and hug about it. Made everybody come over to my house and have champagne. It was an amazing day, and I cried for probably 20 minutes before I could talk to anybody because I didn't realize how much tension I was carrying around on my chest. It was just it was like a physical weight lifted. And then had a year thinking I was in the clear and scheduling a surgery that I was supposed to have this past March 9th of 2023. And I had to have a CAT scan before I did that. And
it was a PET scan, wasn't it?
It was CAT scan. I
CAT scan. Yeah. Okay.
It's like blue dye versus red dye. It's
could have been a PET CT.
Yeah, it could have been. The hybrid, if you will.
Yes.
Where they said, hey, we've got some lymph nodes in your lungs and some things that we're looking at. And I'm like, what do you mean my lungs?
Yeah.
Right?
We were like, well, you had COVID in December. They're just still reacting. They're gonna calm down.
Yeah. I 100% believed it was nothing. So did I. Scheduling so much stuff. I started making my schedule as busy as it could possibly be. Because I was like, yeah, I got nothing to worry about.
Ready to move on.
And then when I went and did a biopsy, which is super scary.
Well, you skipped the month wait.
I had to wait a month.
A second CT scan.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, to tell me they got larger. I should have wrote this down.
That's okay.
You're here for that. And then
I'm your notebook. I'm your living notebook.
And then I got a biopsy, which was super scary because they were digging around in my lungs. And so the result was 2 hilar lymph nodes, which are in between the bronchial tubes sort of outside of my lungs, but almost inside my lungs. And 1 that is in the lower right lobe of my right lung.
Mm-hmm. It's redundant. Yeah, the right lobe of the right lung.
Whatever. See, this is how we just laugh about things.
I am an English teacher by trade.
Yes, you are. And that brings us to present day. I'm currently in treatment. I'm in my 2nd month of IV chemo, and I have a port.
You skipped the part where your rectal cancer metastasized to the lymph nodes in your lungs. Skipped every other organ. Thanks be to God for that. But right in the lungs.
Yeah, which I had less than 2% chance of that happening. I am so rare and special.
So special.
That it went right to my lungs.
Yes.
So
special. So it's metastasis, which is another ugly word. Cancer, ugly. Metastasis, ugly.
And stage 4, which is super ugly.
It's automatically stage 4, right? Because that's what metastasis is.
And I was stage 3 the first time, which was plenty scary.
Mm-hmm. Well, like your doctor explained, it takes 1 little cell to mutate and travel and settle somewhere else. And that's metastasis.
Yeah.
Which I kind of hate to admit was a shock to me. I really thought, I guess I thought of it differently or ignorantly before.
Because of the rectal cancer and what it is, it was an HPV tumor. It was highly curable, like over 95% success rate, and I was in that over 95%. And
so not rare
for it to be completely curable.
Totally usual.
And because 1 little cell broke off and went for a swim into my lungs, I'm now no longer able to be curable. I will just be in remission status, hopefully. And my prognosis, it's not as bleak, right? As stage 4 would let you believe. It doesn't mean I'm terminal. It does mean I will deal with it for the rest of my life. So that's the part I skipped over.
The password word is bullshit.
You could say bullshit louder.
No. When you say the password.
I know.
Yeah.
The password.
You have to, it's that soft, breathy voice. Bullshit.
Whole lot of bullshit. So where I skipped over that, now here we are. I'm currently in treatment. And because so many things have been happening and we're dumbfounded, like we just can't believe it's happening, this is why we needed to share it with the world. And so I'm going to kick it back to my sister so she can get us caught up on all things with her.
Yeah, well, I don't think you really talked about what kind of treatment you're having now, but I guess there's time for that.
Well, I thought you wanted me just to keep it light.
Oh.
An overview.
Well,
all right.
Sure. It's just the facts. Just the facts.
Hold on. I am getting IV chemo through a port in my chest. Mm-hmm. I go once a week for 3 weeks on and 1 week off. And on the first week of every round, I get 2 medicines that are put in over a couple of hours. And they're...
You're in your week off.
Yeah. And they're really...
Cheers to that.
Cheers. And they're very... that's a hard one. That's a hard week. It's really... There's a lot of side effects. But then I get 2 weeks sort of at the same. And now it's Thursday. We're getting towards the end of this week where I start to feel better. Get a little body aches. I have body aches today. But by tomorrow, I should be feeling really good. Mm-hmm. And then I have a whole week off.
Yeah.
So that is super exciting.
And a great weekend of family ahead, so.
Yeah. Family coming in town. Friends coming in town.
Yeah.
Celebrating my niece. It's going to be awesome.
Oh, I said I wasn't going to sing.
You can't help yourself.
Once, twice, 3 times a cancer. I have to apologize again for singing. What could I do?
Just roll with it.
I considered writing a memoir with that title, Once, Twice, 3 Times a Cancer, but then podcasting's a whole lot easier than sitting in front of
if she wrote a memoir, she'd have to leave me out of it.
Well, not necessarily. I mean, it's a life experience. You could have been in it.
I'm in your life.
Yeah, you're in my life. It would be like heavy on my life, but like you're in my life. So 2005 was the very first time I had cancer. But it's back in the day.
That one was bad.
Stop. It was bad for both of us. 2005 was the birth of my sweet little Ava. And I went to back to my OBGYN for sort of that 6-month checkup. And he did a physical and found lumps in my neck, which was so fun because he used the word goiter. And great Dr. Davis. But I was like, no, you can't use the word goiter. Call them lumps, call them bumps, call them cysts, call them whatever you want. Not okay to use the word goiter, like flashbacks to National Geographic and like elephantiasis, kind of like in my head. And I was like, I don't have a goiter. But I had goiters. So I had, that was the only time I felt sheer panic because Ava was a baby. Melina was a 1.5 years old. I had never heard something so awful before as you might have cancer. Mm-hmm. After a biopsy, which I'll tell you about in a second. But I had never felt so terribly panicked. I had never felt so much like, what's going to happen to my life? How will my girls live without me? What will happen to my husband? How can I be so young? I was just 30 years old. I used to make fun of 30-year-olds. Oh my gosh, like I'm so young. But I was 30 years old. So I did have to have a thyroid biopsy. That's where the goiters were. And it turned out I had an autoimmune disorder called Hashimoto's thyroiditis, which is a lot of fun and a lot to learn about. But because of that, I had sort of this overgrowth of cysts on my thyroid, and the biopsy, while horrible because they could only use a local anesthetic, and every time I tell this story I swear that the needle gets longer and bigger, but you can kind of see it coming in towards your neck from the side and peripheral vision. It was not a great time. Anyhow, that was inconclusive. So I had a solid mass on the right lobe of my thyroid and in cystic mass on the left. So the surgeon ended up removing the solid mass and part of the center portion, and I had half a thyroid for a while, and it was great. But once half my thyroid was removed, pardon me, and sent away for testing or examination or whatever we call it, then they found papillary cancer. So I had cancer, but by the time I knew it, it was already out. So it was the most terrifying experience, but somehow incredibly lucky. I ended up having about a year and a half later the rest of my thyroid removed because there was so much scar tissue and so much of that sort of cysts, sort of that Hashimoto's causing the attack of my thyroid. So I had that removed. So that was 2005. Amanda shared with you about her diagnosis in July of 2021.
Yeah, but I have a quick question.
What's the question?
Well, so have you talked to your oncologist? We do have different doctors. So have you talked to your oncologist about anything possibly being related to that? Or is there no link?
Well, that is a different kind of cancer. I mean, that was papillary thyroid cancer, fortunately.
So not that's all they found. Okay, I've answered my question.
Okay.
Thanks. Okay.
You've already answered it.
Done.
Well, after, spending so much time with you, which I don't have to tell you, but people who might be listening. And if you're still listening, I'm so, so happy. Thank you.
Yeah.
After spending so much time with Amanda, I was with her in those first appointments and sometimes took her to treatment and, visited a lot and just tried to spend what time I could with her during treatment and help her out. It was a stressful year. It was a stressful year at work. It was a stressful year because I think maybe some of you who are listening, you very likely have loved somebody deeply who has been through cancer treatment and, and you've been through that terrifying roller coaster ride with them. Well, at some point I started to not feel good, but totally explained it away to my disrupted sleep. Thank you, perimenopause and stress. And, I had started having all this disrupted sleep and sort of this, this ache and all this constipation. Again, who in the history of ever wanted to talk so much about poop?
Nobody.
But I talked to all of my doctors about the constipation, and it was, I talked to my gynecologist, I talked to my primary care, I talked to, those are the only two doctors I had at that point. But, I was talking to them and sort of, we talked about all the normal remedies for constipation. I was taking Miralax. I think I tried Metamucil. That did not help.
Did not work. And
bulking up the poo did not help.
No. And we started talking about it, and
Bulky
I was
poo.
explaining it away for you and telling you there's no way that.
Oh yeah.
Because the fear is that you would experience the same thing that I did, and I was like, no way.
Yeah, no way.
You're just constipated.
Yeah, I was constipated, and then, the relief of the constipation, and I was feeling sort of this dull ache, but I had totally explained it away, because yes, constipation, and listen, if you're listening and you hate the word, so do I. But, yeah, so that I had a number of reasons and a great deal of stress to explain away the constipation. Let's cut to some good stuff here. We took the most fabulous vacation. Mm-hmm. My family went to Rome and to Florence, Italy, and then Amanda met us in Athens, and we went to Santorini, and we had just the world's greatest, loveliest, most amazing vacation.
I just want to go back.
Oh my gosh, yeah. So when we came home in July, from vacation in July of 2022, Amanda came home with some COVID. That was cool. But
right. But luckily it was just like some sniffles. It wasn't a big deal.
But I had already scheduled my colonoscopy because it was time. We learned that the recommendation was for anyone who was 45 to get a colonoscopy, and I had
Lowered from 50.
just passed the age. Plus, with Amanda's history, it was like, well, yeah, I got to have a colonoscopy. We can talk about colonoscopies. I'm not sure.
We can do a whole episode
I'm
on
not sure.
colonoscopies.
I'm not sure we want to get into that today.
Here's your sign, and we'll say it again if you haven't done it.
If you are about 45, it's
Go
time
get
for
it.
a colonoscopy.
Yeah.
Okay.
Stop screwing around. Go to your doctor. Do the Cologuard if you're allowed. Just do it.
Don't strain while you're on the pot. Listen to your body.
Yes.
We'll come back to that.
Yep.
But, yeah. So the doctor came in after the colonoscopy and said, well, we found a polyp and removed it, and that was benign, but there's this really big mass there that, he never said was cancerous, but he said the polyp was benign, and then he said, but then there's this mass. And I think I did say, what the fuck?
Yeah.
Because that was almost exactly a year
1 year and 1 day
from your diagnosis.
from my diagnosis. A whole lot of what the hell.
Yeah, so the surgeon couldn't, or the doctor who performed the colonoscopy couldn't say with certainty, but he did say it looks like cancer, and then, and then more testing and a biopsy, and lo and
It was the
behold.
same size as mine, too.
Yeah, the same size mass, and it was
Freaking
the same
weird.
cancer, squamous cell
Carcinoma.
rectal cancer.
Didn't say that. I didn't say that in mine.
You did not,
Squamous
but squamous cell carcinoma from HPV. Now, let's pause here to talk about HPV, the human papillomavirus, which has become more common than herpes in most people. Well, it's a lot of fun to talk about, but that's what's really important. Amanda and I both knew we had HPV in the 90s, the 1990s, from an abnormal pap smear. And we went through our own experiences then with abnormal pap smears, but here we are in 2023, and that was 2022, pardon me, in 2022, and I had not had any abnormal pap smear results between 1997 and 2022. So to me,
neither did I. Yeah.
to me, it made no sense.
None at all.
No, and I had no idea before Amanda's diagnosis that HPV can hang out in the body. And just like that, a little cell travels and plants somewhere and grows. And, who knows how long? Who knows if we actually had the cancer at the same time? If mine started growing, later? Nobody can really tell us that.
No. What I did learn was that there's some kind of stress response in the body that, kind of wakes it up. And that a tumor will grow rapidly from that point and show itself pretty quickly. So could have been slow growing, and then decided to show itself. We could have had it at the same time. We don't know what that stress response is, but the world shut down, so we could go on and on.
We could take guesses, right?
Yeah.
We are talking in 2020-ish.
Yeah.
We could talk about all that and like maybe why, but so I went through almost in a different hospital system with a different set of doctors, but almost the same treatment as Amanda. That started, we were kind of on the same timeline because the diagnosis was about the same. My treatment started when did I start? Why can't I remember this?
I think it was the end of August. Because you were not.
No, it was the middle of August.
Start school.
It was the middle of August, right?
Right.
It was before school started again, but it was the middle of August.
Right.
It was after we got tattooed.
Mm-hmm.
But then I went through the same treatment, not quite as lengthy as yours, of course, but it was the same. It was at home pill form of chemo and daily radiation. I did 28 treatments, I think, 5 days a week, except for Labor Day.
Yeah, 28, and I did 32.
Yeah.
And so she had slightly less to do than me, and I was thankful for that.
Thank you.
Yeah.
We'll get into what it's like to have your rectum radiated.
Ooh.
in another episode, but with a disclaimer at the front of it, because you may, I don't know, maybe you don't want to know.
Some people may want to skip that one.
No, if you want to know about what that's like, but let's just go ahead and say it's painful. So yeah, I learned not on, when did you say? March what?
Oh, March 4th.
March 4th.
March
when
17th.
you got...
Yeah,
when you got remission news, I got remission news on St. Patrick's Day.
Yeah.
2023. And my doctor was very conservative with his words, but, I said, oh, it sounds like you're telling me I don't have cancer anymore. And he said, well, we use the word remission. It took me a full 10 minutes to realize what he was saying. I had left the office and I was like, remission! And it was an exciting time. But it was smack dab in the middle of Amanda's scan, finding out that she had inflamed lymph nodes, and we were two little hope boats, little boats of floats of rainbows and hope.
Rainbows and sunshine.
I might have literally skipped for a couple of weeks. I was like, everything's going to be good. It sucks that your surgery is postponed, but you're going to have it at the end, and
just have to wait a month. Everything's going to be fine.
That's not what happened.
Yeah.
So, Amanda's diagnosis caused me to think, because after my colonoscopy, I did have an MRI and a PET scan, and on one of those scans, and I can't even remember which, it did show a nodule in my lung. The reports said it was likely scar tissue. I had 2 follow-up CT scans, and I was scheduled for one in late June. We're in the middle of June right now.
Mm-hmm.
I messaged my doctor, told him about my sister's diagnosis. I said, I know it's not logical, but can I move up my chest CT? He said, via my chart message, so sorry to hear about your sister's diagnosis, but no, keep it in June. So
we said,
I happened to be talking to my primary care physician about something else. And it's great. My primary care physician is the one who helped me find my oncologist in the first place, who happens to be his sister. So that was pretty awesome. But I was talking to him about this whole thing, and I said, I feel like it's totally irrational, but I can't help but wonder about this lung nodule. It's not the same, it's kind of been there hanging out. It hasn't really grown. But he said, I'll look at your scans and I'll give your oncologist a call. And 2 days later, I got called to be scheduled for a biopsy. Still riding that little happy cloud of hope.
So
that I was
so
just
much
gonna
hope
hear.
that you didn't even really talk about it. You kind of swept it under the rug to the rest of your family.
I'm feeling a little...
Judgment? It's okay. Carry on.
Feeling a little judgment. Yeah. No, I didn't really talk about it. I was like, nah, no big deal. I was pretty panicked about it because, I knew about what your biopsy looked like, and I just got scheduled for a biopsy. Mine turned out to be totally different.
Yeah.
I was under that twilighty stuff where you were fully sedated. They went through your throat. They took a big needle through my back, and I didn't even know it. I mean, I knew it, but didn't know it. That's that whole twilight thing.
Yeah.
Anyhow, so it wasn't scar tissue, friends. It was adenocarcinoma. And
that's straight up lung
All right,
cancer.
let's just pause.
What? For what the...
Dramatic effect.
Dun, 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 dun. What the...
We're pausing for dramatic effect. Yeah, so I have lung cancer, and Amanda has cancer in her lungs.
Yeah. I have metastasized cancer, and you have a whole new kind of cancer. And
Its own little nugget of
it's
nastiness.
all weird.
Totally weird.
I mean, I'm super glad it's not metastasis, because for that, you'll tell them, but for that, the solution is still curable. Yeah.
It's surgery.
Yeah.
It's a pretty weird reality to say, or to even think, at least it's not metastasis.
Right.
You know, and people who don't know you, but I haven't talked about it much, but I have talked with a couple of people about it, and they're like, "Oh, well, that's good. It's not like your cancer spread."
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it doesn't really make you feel any better.
No.
Between us, I can say, like, I'm happy about that, and you understand what I mean. Mm-hmm. But if anyone else says it, you're like, I still have fucking cancer. It's fucking lung cancer, and I've never been a smoker. I have not been a smoker. I don't smoke anything.
I do have to admit to taking Nikki's Camel Lights in, 93, 94.
Whoa.
Yeah,
that was, what, for a week? Like,
I never ever bought my own pack of cigarettes.
Right.
I just took
Me neither, I can say that.
I took from friends at the bar.
High
five. Yeah, so it's non-smoking lung cancer, and it is, I can't call myself lucky, but it's a better situation, I suppose, compared to yours. I'm facing a lobectomy. They're going to take the upper right lobe and the lymph nodes from the middle lobe. And if my anatomy is such that the upper and the middle lobes have sort of a distinct separation, then that's it. If not, they might have to take the middle lobe. It sounds awful. It sounds painful. My surgeon did use the word pain 3 times.
Great.
But today is the 15th. Yeah, I got some fun things ahead. Actual fun things. I'm not being sarcastic. Yeah. Actual fun things ahead. And then the 27th of June, I'll have a lobectomy.
Yeah. But there's so much good stuff in between now and then. So.
Yeah. So we've said a lot.
Yeah.
What questions do you have? I'll wait.
Oh, we're not live? So we will, I think that's a good place to stop. Because that's a whole lot of information and an introduction. I think there are a lot of things that we plan to talk about, and I think things that we don't even know we're going to get into. But there's so much to talk about with different treatments on how we feel as triplets going through this, how our other family members feel, but you and I are especially close-knit. I did tell you were not supposed to follow in my footsteps. I am the youngest sister, but...
yeah, I'm supposed to set the tone here.
Yeah, but, to talk about things from that perspective, and we're also hoping to find a little answers because next month I get genetic testing, and I'm going to compare it to your genetic testing, and there are some clinical trials that I'm looking into and things for the future. But we're going to talk about the good and bad and the ugly and the funny.
And sometimes the disgusting.
And the disgusting. Yeah, and what life is really like. Because honestly, the thing is, like, when someone says, hey, how are you? Okay, well...
Yeah, to tell you the real story is a really long answer.
Yeah, a really long answer. How am I? Because of what I deal with just to get up and get out of the house every day. And that's part of leftover what I went through from the first treatment, all the side effects, and part of the side effects I have right now.
Yeah.
And
so coming up,
future
episodes.
Yeah, go ahead and list them. We have some good titles.
We've got Faith and Feelings.
Yes.
Throw in any of your other favorite F words. Varting and other fun realities.
Good, there's a good meme for that. We're gonna have to post it.
The Chicken Pickle. We'll leave you in suspense. Clean and Healthy Colons. We're going to have some guests on.
Live with clean and healthy colons.
Super healthy colons. Minor inconveniences. Big effing problem. Hashtag anger issues. We're going to talk about the medical system. Wow. We are in 2 different medical systems, and we're having 2 different experiences. Both good, mostly good, and sometimes maddening,
largely anger producing,
frustrating, for sure.
Yeah.
Amanda's going to tell you a little bit more about all the ways that she continued to work and crushed her goals.
Oh, thanks.
And I'm going to bring on some guests of my own, some young people.
Yes.
Yeah. So that's what we have planned so far. Who knows where this will take us?
One thing we'll talk about is you going through treatment as married with kids and me going through treatment as single. Because I can't tell you how many times people were like, oh, what are you going to do? You're single. That was my favorite. Never mind having cancer. Let's just point out that I don't have it.
It's not about you having cancer. It's like, you're single. Oh.
How terrible for you. All right.
Oh
my gosh.
boy.
Thank you for listening.
If you made it all the way to the end, you are the most awesomeness.
Yeah.
Awesomest. Awesome.
Make sure you follow us on
sauce.
Instagram at the Cancer Sisters _podcast for fun content. And we'll effing talk to you later.
Bye.
Bye.